much on the tractor too quickly when they were hauling hay bales. So that was, again, a great place to learn and grow and learn about rural Washington. Attended high school in Chewilla. I went to college at Whitworth, Washington State University in Eastern. I also then started my banking career about the same time. My wife and I met in the 3rd grade. We've known each other for 50 some years and been married for 41. We have 3 lovely daughters. They're all grown and have their own families. Moved to Aberdeen in 1990. I took a position, I was with Security Pacific Bank and took a transfer position from Deer Park, Washington to Aberdeen. At that point in time, I was managing the branch there, which is now where Key Bank is. The story I'd love to tell about the volatility in the banking industry is the fact that I worked for 5 different banks in the space of about 6 months and changed my desk once. So, and that's when I went down to the Bank of Grace Harbor from there, and I left there in 2000, came back in 2006, worked for Anchor Bank for 6 years, and then in 2000, it's 3 years ago, 2013, I went back to work for Bank of the Pacific. So I work as a commercial lender there. My typical day is reading financial statements, doing credit submissions, talking to business people, and finding out what runs our economy here and how to deal with it. When I move to a community, I like to get involved. I've always been a part of the communities I've been involved with, whether it be Chamber, Kiwanis, Lions. I've been an elk, I've been an eagle. I currently belong to what's called the Greater Grace Harbor Inc., which is a combination of the Grace Harbor Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Council. I've chaired that and I've served on the board for about 7+ years now. I've been president of other chambers. I serve on the Aberdeen Planning Commission, the Aberdeen Library Board. I'm a member of Rotary. I serve on their board and their foundation board. I'm also a member of the Grace Harbor Community Hospital Foundation Board. I chair that. I'm chairing the Planning Commission. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm involved in the community I'm with. It's very typical for me to get to know all the community leaders when I'm in a community, whether I was in Stevens County, where my hometown. We lived in Kitsap County for about 5 years, and I got to know all the legislators and the county commissioners and the municipal people up there. Again, when I moved back down here, it was like moving home again. You guys think you have a bad economy, but when you grow up in northeastern Washington, you know what a truly poor economy is. One of the things that we need to deal with here at the county level, at the commissioner level, is our economic base. It has surely eroded over the last 25, 26 years I've been here, and if you've been around here that long, you've seen that. We've diversified quite a bit. The county's grown a little larger, but we've got different problems these days. One of our largest problems as a county that we have to face is the fact of a shrinking budget, and the only way to turn that around is to grow the economic tax base. People want government to provide services that private industry can't or won't supply, and so that then comes to county government to do that. And we need to grow our economic base so we don't have to keep dipping on our reserves. There are only about $3 million of reserves right now. This year's county budget, it's about $1 million in the red. We can't continue to do that. We can't sustain it for very long. And I'm not blaming any of the current commissioners. That's just a fact of our economy. But we need to find ways to specifically do that. As a county commissioner, again, the budget's one of the things we need to deal with, but the biggest other issue we need to, well, there's several issues we need to face. One of the other biggest issues is the fact that we have about 60 employees retiring at the county in the next year, year and a half. That's a big knowledge drain at the county level that we have to be able to manage effectively. I've got the background and experience in my career working with people and business owners to, again, advise and counsel and direct people on how the best ways to go out and find the right people, to find the right technology, because a lot of this won't be replaced by employees. I would imagine it will be replaced by technology. I just don't see us being able to replace 60 jobs with 60 because we don't have the tax base to do it. So that's going to be an important consideration. We've got infrastructure we need to fully support within the county, and we need to continue to make sure it's safe and improving. We need good transportation systems, we need good railways, we need good internet supply systems, redundancy, and we need to keep finding and growing our economic base and still protect what we have. The county has several diverse industries we need to work with. We need to continue to support our tourism industry, which is important in the north and south beaches. That's vitally important to the folks in Ocean Shores because that's what your economy runs on. In East County, it's agriculture for the most part, although they do have a couple industrial spaces. But we need to be able to find ways to make sure that that's important. You've got some challenges out here as a city. Again, you don't have the best tax base in the world, although you've got improving property values. Thank God in our county we're now seeing some improvement in property values. That's vitally important to not only the city of Ocean Shores, but the rest of the county as it provides a better tax base. You've got an erosion problem out here, which you face, and also the city of Westport faces. So we've got to address those issues, and as a county commissioner, work with the Army Corps of Engineers and the state capital budget people to work at ways of funding your problems here and getting them dealt with effectively. You've got a convention center that I know has been up and down, and that you've been in hot to pay for it. So we need to find ways to encourage, again, tourism and growth out here. That's important. In the South Beach area, we have a large fishing industry that needs to be protected, along with a boat building industry. Frank will tell you from port numbers, and I'll tell you too, that affects about 2,300 current jobs. That's a large, and most of those are family wage jobs. And we need to find ways to get the legislature to hand over money from the capital budget so the port can do the dredging that's needed out there at the Westport Marine Basin. Down the road, I would like to see you guys work something out with the Quinault Indian Nation for the Ocean Shores Marina here. I think that can be a vitally, a good part of the economy down here. I'm not sure what the answer is. I think it requires discussions with not only the nation, but the port together, and the city of Ocean Shores, because it affects everything. I think there's some natural synergies that can happen there. You have to love the city of Ocean Shores and the number of people it attracts to the area and all the things that are going on here. You've got in the North Beach area, you've got a community like Seabrook that is providing a great economic base for that area and redeveloping itself, and that it continues to draw more people to the North Beach areas for tourism. One of the biggest partnerships we have to work at with the county here is the Quinault Indian Nation. They're our neighbors. They're also the largest employer in the county, bar none, when you look at all the different enterprises and everything that happens with them. As a commissioner, it's my responsibility to represent not only the citizens of District 2, but to represent the entire county. You are all part of the county. I am a commissioner for the entire county, representative of District 2, and so that's another important thing to look at. Why am I qualified? Well, again, I was talking about the fact that I'm basically a numbers guy, and I do credit analysis and numbers. I'm used to working with businesses. I've got about 40 years in business, finance, insurance, and investments, and that's a pretty important job skill at the county commissioner level. Why am I running for county commissioner? This job only comes up once every 4 years. Something I haven't thought about lightly. It comes up this year, it comes up 4 years from now. This is a good time in my life to do this. I'm ready to step up and do it, and I think it's important that we have the most qualified candidate we can in the position. I know I don't have all the answers, but I'm used to managing numbers, I'm used to managing people, I'm used to managing problems, and finding ways to solve them and bringing the right people in to solve those problems. If elected, again, I don't have all the answers, but I know I will be able to work with people and move forward. One of the things I'm going to get asked, I'll just put it right out there front, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, because I don't believe you do the Democrat solution or the Republican solution. You walk across the aisle and you do the right solution. So there's nothing at the county level that requires a partisan vote. It's unlike the state, when you get to the state legislative system. There is absolutely nothing at the county level that requires a partisan vote. There is one thing that is a partisan thing that happens, and that's when an elected official retires, like Ron Straubing has announced his retirement. The County Democratic Coalition will put together 3 names and present to the commission, but again, it's not a Democratic or Republican decision, it's picking from the best candidate that's presented. So, as we move forward, I let my worthy opponent speak here. He's a good man. And it's been a fun race so far, and look forward to your questions.
Good job.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it. Frank?
Okay, Frank Gordon, first, excellent presentation. My name's Frank Gordon. I wasn't born here. I've lived here 50 years. I was born in Kelso, the enemy down the road that people in Aberdeen always hated. I spent years in the service and volunteered. I was in the Air Force, and when I got out, I come to Aberdeen Weyerhaeuser because Cosmopolis had a 2-week shutdown. So I come to see about getting some work, because in the construction trade, you follow that stuff around relatively young. I run into my wife in town during my 2-week stay here, and I'm still here. So, and we have been married 49 years now, and so it was a good move on my part. I love the harbor. My roots are here very, very strongly. The service was really good for me. I was a businessman for 40+ years. I was an electrical contractor, and I did some house building too. I got my electrical commercial card in the service. Service is really good if you happen to luck out and get into the right slot, and I happen to luck out and get into the right slot. I've had some college at Lower Columbia and Grace Harbor and Bellevue Community College. No degrees like my worthy opponent, but I had things in finance and learning, and my 40-some years in business. I shut my business down when I became a county commissioner, because I found that it wasn't just a 5-day-a-week job. It was a 6-day, 7-day, probably at least 3 nights a week. I'm at a meeting someplace, because people, like lots of people here, they work during the day, so the only time they can have a meeting is in the evening time. So I did that. I'm really fortunate. My family's grown. My kids are probably older than 2/3 of you guys here. And then I got grandkids and great-grandkids on down the line. So I've got a lot of experience. That's their way. Just to some of the groups I belong to the Vets Club. I belong to the 48, which is also a Vets Club. I'm a member of the Elks. Some of the things I belong to the Chehalis Basin Fisheries Task Force. It's a government put together task force. This year, working with the task force, we brought $3.7 million to Grace Harbor County that's being spent by local contractors doing fish repair and culvert changes. Last year, I am also a board member of the Washington State Coalition of Salmon for the coast here, and we brought in $11.1 million that's being spent in Grace Harbor, Pacific, and Jefferson County on the coast, again, to do habitat change, to help things for fisheries. Fisheries is a very important thing here for us. I'm on, right now, I'm part of ecology, that we are doing a study on pollution that's affecting the oyster people, which affect you guys down here, oysters on both sides of the bay. People don't realize between Wellpaw Bay and Grace Harbor Bay, oyster sales here account for 30% of the sales in the United States. Comes out of our 2 bays. It's a big, big deal. I'm a member of the Washington State Association of Counties. I was appointed by my fellow members, but while up there, all the counties took a vote, and I am the west of the state rep for the county and the Association of Counties. Going to state meetings with the legislature. I've been working with the Port of Grace Harbor, and to secure the rest of the funding to dredge out the boat basin at Westport, because it's silting in bad enough now that it's almost to the edge of some of the bigger fishing boats can't get there. Well, you're talking like Randy said too, 2,300 jobs down there, and they're trying to expand and grow. And so it's a family wage job industry down there. It's very important. One of the things I talk to ecology about, because I deal with them daily, and some of the other people, is that we get to do some dredging. I know there was some kind of smiles and stuff, or maybe little actors, but we really seriously need to find, if it's not polluted, the means to dredge out your guys' boat basin down here. One, it's an economic plus. Some boats could tie up down here too. There's a ferry sitting on the Westport side just tied up. It's just a passenger ferry, but you know, think that would do to tourism back and forth, where people could cross the bay. And I know for a fact that Island County, parked up there, there's a small car ferry sitting up there at Island County that maybe, if we got this thing open, we could have a small car ferry back and forth. Would that be an economic boom for both of us? Because you're down here at the beach and you want to go to Westport to maybe have a bite to eat, or vice versa, that's a 50-mile drive, you know? That's a pretty tough go. You tell your wife, yeah, let's run over and have a bite to eat, or go to the casino, or vice versa. So that's a big economic push for the harbor. There's a lot of things that's went on. My first year in there, I was appointed to be the commissioner's rep with the judges. And you guys, it's probably, I can remind you, the judges sued, Grace Harbor County sued the commissioners because they wanted a third courtroom. And so that went on, lots of money spent. Hundreds of thousands of dollars spent by the county defending ourselves. Hundreds of thousands of dollars spent by the state, all tax dollars, to sue the county. I got the judges to sit down with my other fellow commissioners. We did a handshake. They dropped the lawsuit and come to an end. And we are in the process of making an administered third courtroom where the old law library was, so we don't get this lawsuit back going. I also working with Will Foster and them on getting the design, which is almost done, for this smaller courtroom, which satisfies the judges, stops at their lawsuit. One of the things we did, you guys remember when transit stopped Saturday and Sunday service. Well, I mean, that was a killer for out here, tourism and the people working out at the hotels and the motels and stuff. I was the one that pushed with staff from transit and with the union. I was the only one. I held signs, I wanted the radio, we did everything out there, and we got that 0.1% transit tax. We now have full Saturday service. We only have part-time Sunday service because people don't realize transit is a very expensive item to run. But we got Saturday back, we got things back, we are improving, and I'm really proud of doing that. One other thing I did is and I know my friend over here was against the public hospital being, changed from private to public, and he had some good points. But one of the things that we needed to do, the hospital was going to lose the right to be a tier 3 hospital, which has a trauma unit. Our nearest trauma unit would have been Olympia then. By getting that change from there to there, our legislature had a clause that if we changed that from private to public, we got more funding from the state for the same call. So they changed our designation then from urban to rural hospital, and then that gave us more funds coming in that would help the hospital stay as is. Does that mean that I'm all pro hospital everything? I'm pro what happened there to keep the hospital. Right now, I'm not so pro hospital because the hospital, I don't feel myself are treating the hospital workers and other healthcare workers properly. So I'll come right out and say, you've seen signs around saying, please support health. We support the healthcare workers. Well, so I can be on both sides of the fence. I supported them when it's for the good of the community, but right now I'm supporting the workers up there because I think they need fair pay and fair rights and to be talked to and things like that. So why you guys should keep me here? Up in Capitol, which is really a mess, it's like going to the zoo. They don't even talk to each other across the aisle and that. It takes a long time to get to the point where you develop relationships. I've walked the halls for the last couple of years now. I'm the legislative rep up there. I've gotten to the point where I can go like Andy Hill. He's a Republican. He's a good man. He's very conservative. There's Democrats across the hall. They don't speak to each other. They walk out the same door and don't even say hi. Well, I've gotten to the point where I can sit and talk to both of them, you know, and I'm running out of time. That's the big one thing. I'm a politician. My mouth goes forever and ever and ever. But anyway, just to let you know, with the relationships I've built, the programs I've been working on right now, I feel that I deserve another 4 years to finish the work I've started. And thank you.
Thank you to both candidates. Very good statements from both of you. Because our questions will go to both candidates again and not to either candidate singly, I'll ask you to raise your hands and I will put you on the list. As I see your hands, I might make a mistake, but I will get to you. You'll ask your question and both candidates will be given a chance to very briefly answer the question. So, I see Don. There's certainly some people I don't know. I may invite Don first.
George Smiley.
George. And
Elspeth.
yeah. So Don, please start.
Yeah, you mentioned the marina and the need for dredging. We have a derelict marina, I think you agree with that. That's owned by the Quinals.
Right.
So what process would you try to use to get that thing back into shape, including the dredging, which I think is very important? And maybe my next question would be about the hospital. How do we get better hospital services out here?
Which one are you asking?
Both of them.
There's some questions here, Rudy.
The nation is one of the largest, again, the largest employer in the county right now. And so if you're going to work with the nation on this, which I think is vitally important for the city of Ocean Shores and tourism in this area, you've got to bring them to the table and bring the city to the table and probably the county too and find a way to work through this. It's in everybody's economic interest to make sure that that marina is viable again at some point in time. But that's also going to take the cooperation of the Army Corps of Engineers, the Department of Ecology, shoreline permitting. All those issues have to be addressed. So again, that's a matter of getting them to the table and see if you can work out a long-term plan to make that happen. It will take funding. I know I've worked with the nation closely on other things, and they're pretty smart financially up there, so it needs to be economically viable. As far as the hospital district, again, you've got a local hospital district commissioner, and I was going to correct one of Frank's points while I'm out here. I was personally responsible for securing over 1,100 signatures to get the hospital district formed. So I don't know who he was pointing to over here that was against it.
Oh, not you.
Okay, well,
That's not bad. I'm sorry, no.
I wasn't sure.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
The other Randy.
The other Randy, no.
I just wanted to make sure. So, but when it comes to the hospital district, again, you need to attend the district's meetings. I think they're the second and fourth Tuesdays of every, I know they're at least the fourth Tuesday evenings of every month, and make your questions and topics known to them so they can deal with it. I don't think they're necessarily ignoring you because you've got a large population out here. I think this makes a perfect spot to get a clinic out here that they can support, but they have to get on good financial footing anyway. Just becoming a public hospital district allowed them to get a higher reimbursement rate, which is helping them, but they're not out of the woods yet. They have to make sure they're consistently running in the black, and they're doing some things to help that. So I'm trying to keep it short enough so that.
Thank you.
Good job, good job. Okay, you know, the same thing, basically on partnerships with the Quinault Nation, with us, you know, we could even, on this boat basin, maybe even take some of our .09 funds, so that then that's a partnership between the county, the city, the Quinault Nation, and you know and what people don't realize, the Quinault Nation has access to grants that we don't, just like we have access to grants that they. So it's going to have to be a economic partnership. I think it can. People, a lot of times, they look at the council. I know 25 years ago, going to the council meetings up there at the hall, a lot of the council members were poorly educated, just like lots of us like that. When you go to the council meetings now, and I do a lot of affairs with them, they have some really highly skilled, educated people. So it would be a super excellent partnership. Okay, going to the hospital, we need to do squeak-in. Squeak-in wheels get greased. Like you said, go to it, and our other hospital district, they opened up the one at McClary. That's what we need here. Have you seen the one at McClary? It's a beautiful, beautiful clinic. It even has a pharmacy in it. It's an economic draw for the city. But then people up there kept them and put their nose to the grindstone and says, we're gonna squeak until something's done. They made a promise, they kept their promise. Our hospital's got a ways to go, get its feet in the ground, but this is a big area. I think if everybody attended meetings and said, hey, we need help down here, I think you might be surprised. They haven't forgot you, they haven't wrote you off. Sir.
Thank you. George?
Let's see, there's such a long list here. There was an issue with some of the, like warehousing, and people, about allowing people to go onto their property.
Fee for access.
Yeah. And there was a lawsuit filed, I think.
Yeah.
And would you discuss kind of generally your position on that, on both sides of that issue? Because I'm not sure it's done. I mean, I still hear Dan Boholt every time I open my ears. And
Who you want first? Me first?
does it matter?
Yes, please alternate.
Sure.
Okay, oh no, there's fine. The issue is, they were suing us. We went to suing them. We passed a law that they would lose their special timber tax status on land they was charging. They turned around and sued us. The Farmers Association sued us. The majority of the counties joined the timber, not just Weyerhaeuser, the Timber Association of all these here counties to sue us. We hired an outside attorney that specialized in this. The outside attorney come to us, he says, well, you're into us about $30,000 right now. If we go to a hearing, not a court date yet, a hearing before this judge, you could be into another $100,000. And he's, well, so we said at the meeting, we said, do we have a chance? And he says, about like an ice cube, where? He says, less than 50-50 at the best, a chance of winning this here lawsuit. So then West Cormier went to Brian Blake. Brian Blake went to the legislature, and you have to have a co-sponsor before you can even enter a bill. It doesn't mean it's going to go to the floor. He could not find one co-sponsor. How this thing started was back when we give them this special tax break, and we give it to farmers too. It was on a handshake. They did it on a handshake. There was no paperwork, so when everybody went away, the timber companies said, wow, here we got ourselves an open stock. We're one of the few states left that doesn't charge to hunt. The farmers joined the timber companies because they was afraid that, because farmers get special tax breaks too, and they was afraid if they had a pea patch or a pumpkin patch or one of these things, they might lose some status. So all the farm groups joined, the different counties joined. Pacific County and Jefferson County told us, we feel for you. That's as far as we got, and that's the most help we as a county had. And it's a state issue. It should be done by the state, but it definitely needs to be done.
Again, the fee for access issue is very important to just a ton of people in our county that have had access to public or private lands for many, many, many years. This should never probably have been passed at the county commissioner level, but I don't think Frank was even there at the time.
No.
And definitely, the lawsuit was not prudent without investigating it further because it's a state law issue, it's not a county law issue. So when the commissioners at that time passed a resolution to tweak the law, it was in conflict with the state law. And that's where the point of law was being contested at. And it's my understanding from reporting is that, yeah, we didn't have a very good chance of winning this. So the next step is to, again, go to our state legislators and get co-sponsors and deal with this at the whole state level. It's a rural Washington issue, it's not just a Grays Harbor issue. The fact that other counties were saying, yeah, go for this and we'll support you, and then they didn't, that's our bad. It's just we should have had a better way to deal with it in the beginning.
Thank you. Al?
Do you, and this question is to both of you, do you have ideas as to how you would formulate a strategic plan regarding fiscal responsibility to bring Grays Harbor County out of the current deficit and to keep us there long term?
Well, my whole background is in finance and banking and investments and insurance. Fiscal responsibility starts with the people you elect. The fact is, this county was in economic crisis a long time before it was now. When the economy went through a downturn in 08, 09, 010, commissioners were borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. That's where the fiscal responsibility should have taken place. We need to take a priority, need to go through our budget line by line, our departments line by line, and decide what's important for the citizens of Grays Harbor County. Is public safety and criminal justice more important than roads? Is public safety and criminal justice more important than having a responsive building department? Where is it that you as taxpayers want to draw the line? I promise as a county commissioner, I will toe the line. We can't keep spending our reserves. That's just not enough money to do it. So our alternative is to grow our tax base and try to keep our expenses the same until we can afford to increase county services. It's not easy when you don't have enough funds to around. We're not King County, we're not Snohomish, we're not Pierce County, where things are overflowing everywhere and the tax base keeps growing. So you have to make tough choices in tough times, and that's what your county commissioners are there to do. So the fact is, we have to balance our budget. Right now, we're doing it by dipping into our reserves. That's not sustainable. It can't be sustainable. So again, if that continues to happen, we'll be forced to make cuts that people don't want. So it's time to get serious, to get busy, and to make some priorities at county government.
Good job. Everything you said is basically very, very true. One of the things though that we need, and you guys are all guilty, every one of you sitting here, we have commission meetings. The last commission meeting, we happened to have 2 newspaper people come. That was it. The whole damn thing was empty. We've had them in the evening time, it's empty. Nobody comes and says anything. Everybody sits in the bar or in the coffee shop and bitches about how screwed up Grays Harbor County is. Well, we are. Now, I'll tell you something, just for a perfect example. The last meetings I had up at King County, they got a brand new jail. They shut a third of it down because they're short money. They're talking about taking their secondary county roads and going back to gravel. So this is a tremendously, really bad problem. And one of the things that one of the cures we can take care of is these unfunded mandates that we get down here. The state comes down here. The state just come down and said, the lawyers that defend criminals, right now you're defending too many criminals, so we're going to give you the same amount of pay, but you only have to defend half of what you used to do. Start next year, we have to hire more criminal attorneys. You know who's paying for that? You guys are. That comes out of public safety. So maybe instead of having an extra church car driving down the road, you got a lawyer standing up defending somebody. You guys are going to have to make a choice of what you want to sacrifice, but also you guys got to start getting involved to start complaining to the state that, just like whether you're for or against marijuana, I don't even care. Right now they have $100 and some million sitting in a slush fund on the side that they've collected off of taxes off of marijuana so far, it hasn't been spread out to the counties. We got one check for $9,000. That doesn't even pay for the time we take to go around and make sure that these places are going. There's an unfunded mandate. You know, we're being bled. We do have some things in the assessor's office. We've got new technology in the assessor's office. It's going to take a couple of years to make the changes over, but then he thinks he can do 1 or 2 staff people that. In the treasurer's office, that's a labor intensive because they're still old fashioned. You remember in school, well maybe you guys in school long ago, they used to do on the big long ledgers. They still do paperwork in our treasurer's office on long ledger forms. We're in the process when Ron, I love Ron dearly, I've known him forever. When he leaves and we get somebody new in, we're going to try to change technology in there so that things have saved, it will cut. Our new thing, just going back to our assessor, they have a thing when you go out in the field now, he can take a picture of the property, he can write down on it, and it's instantly in his computer back. Right now they go out, they write it down, and then they gotta enter it when they get back to the office. There's some of the savings that we can do to save money at this here, at the county level. It's gonna be a tremendously very slow process, but it is doable, and I can see things are better. Our Brenda Sherman, our finance director, she shows that our sales tax lines are slowly but surely improving as the economy gets a little better down here, which gives us more income. So I can see light at the end of the tunnel, and honest to God, it's not a train coming. It's an actual light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.
Susan?
Well, you answered a little bit of my question, because that was what I was going to ask, was how do you plan to do this by replacing with your technology, which is also going to be costly. It's not going to be cheap when you do that. And how do you plan to present that to the citizens, that this is a cost that we really need to incur to go into this technology, rather than have the people? And what do you say to the people who want the jobs, that they won't be there because you're going to do it with technology? And added to that, how do you see social media helping us in terms of coming back and getting the people involved?
Oh, okay, excuse me. Well, one thing, I'll just tell you, the T2 program that they talked about tying in, what these programs do, it ties, what the assessor does, goes to the treasurer. The treasurer does, whether it's property tax statements or whatever, it goes out and then it goes to the auditor. So it's a chain between the two. Right now, we have IT people, only 2 of them left now, and they're thinking about retiring, please God, that have made these bridges between these different groups. It's just like, you know, you got a Ford and a Chrysler and a Chevy over here, and you're trying to interchange parts. It doesn't work very good. Well, that's how our county we got these major departments, and they're so separate. Well, we're in the process to take this new program called the T2 program and stick it in the treasurer's office. That's $400,000, okay? That is a tremendous chunk of money, you know, and that don't count the change time. Just to give you a perfect example, is we've tried to get a replacement fund set up. 3 years ago, we passed the right to get a replacement fund, so we take surplus dollars and stick into this fund so we can buy, technical stuff to improve ourselves. I donated $5 in that fund. You know how much that fund has today? $5 still, the $5 that I donated in. We finally passed a deal that we get timber money coming. And so we finally passed that from when the timber sales, we get 500,000 of it. That goes into the general fund to help operate and run things. Anything over that is now split between technical fund that's set to buy stuff you need, the computers and things of this nature, or a new program, and fixing stuff. We only fix things at the county, and that was way before my time. They started out 20 years ago. They fix it when it breaks. Now, we all, when we get tight money, instead of changing our oil every 3 months, you change it every 6, or you change the light bulb when it burns out when the second time the cop waves at you. Well, that's how the county, that's how the city, that's how Ocean Shores is run right now. And so we've got things passed this year that any money over that certain amount is going to go into these funds. And we have been doing things. FDA come out and gave us an opportunity to go for a grant and a loan at the fairground, the biggest building in the fairground, the pavilion, which is the economic backbone of the fairground. We just signed paperwork for Roglins to put a brand new roof on. And that'll be a good roof for 20, 30 years, and that's the economic core of the Grace Harbor County Fair. But that roof should have never been allowed to get in that kind of shape. But because it was fix it when it breaks philosophy, that it has been changed. It's going to take a little while, and again, there's no quick fix to anything up there, but there is some baby steps being made. There's my answer.
Susan, that's an excellent question. How do we pay for technology? Because that is the answer down the road, because we're not going to be able to afford the same number of bodies. So basically technology, I believe, and my financial training should be paid for the life of the technology. So we might have to go into long-term debt for some of this, but that's the only way that it makes sense. You can't pay it out of this year's budget. You can pay a portion of it out like a car loan. So that's one way to do it. The biggest problem we have, I see in the county, is the growth in the sheriff's and criminal justice area, and all, as Frank said, the unfunded mandates that come down. That's a huge concern moving forward. The sheriff's budget has almost doubled in the last 8 years. So, and that's roughly between the sheriff's budget and criminal justice, that's roughly 70% of the county budget. So, and again, that's doubled in the last 8 years. So we have to deal with that. So there's some hard choices coming up. And again, we have to rely on technology. Frank was talking about the assessor's program. Well, the treasurer's program, he's talking about that bridge between technologies. If we don't make sure the treasurer has that bridge in place, he's not going to be able to build his tax statements. If he can't build his tax statements, it means you don't get a tax statement, we don't get any money at the county. And we're all of a sudden issuing warrants out the door that we can't pay for because we haven't got the money in. So it's critical that we as citizens have people at the county that can manage these processes well. And these are not cheap fixes. The one thing about technology, unfortunately, is that it usually does replace 1 or 2 or 3 jobs as it goes in. So you get the savings over time. That's why you have to pay for it over time. And right now, we've got a $3.5 million surplus that we're eating into by $1 million this year. It doesn't take a math wizard long to know you can't do that very long. So the fixes have to happen